Hey, what's up, everybody? Good Friday morning to you. It is your buddy Chapadong, and I am coming at you with a quick slate breakdown of today's NHL slate. I'm using our research station here at dfsarmy.com, and I'm going to dive in and show you a little bit of what to look for, being a smaller slate, maybe a couple of contrarian pivots, if you will, and then which players we are going to want to target and key on in our stacks and our one-offs today. So let's kind of get rolling. We did this yesterday. If you scroll back up through my YouTube channel and see a couple of the longer videos that I did yesterday breaking down the NHL research station, you'll see that we're going to focus on implied team totals because those correlate very, very highly with fantasy scoring and with historical consistency in skaters from those games that do tend to hit value. And we also will focus on goals for and goals against to spot the good offenses and the bad defenses. Right now we're using last year's numbers and for another few games, but when we dive into the skaters tab here and start picking on skaters specifically, you'll see that as the shorter samples, get down to 5 games and 10 games, we'll start including more and more and more of this year's numbers as we go. And that's obviously very, very important to get onto this year's data as quickly as possible. But, on 2 and 3 game sample sizes, they're very, very rocky to begin with. So it's a double-edged sword with taking last year's numbers into account, but wanting some stability in your numbers. Today, Florida Panthers, Buffalo Sabres. This is typically going to, I should be cross-checking this with some more recent numbers that are this season only, but I'm not doing that just for the sake of confusing people. I want you to see that I go through the same process pretty much every day, and I don't make a lot of changes on a day-to-day basis. I make some changes maybe next week. I may make some maybe the week after that, but I don't make changes day to day to day because I believe that the fewer moving parts you have to your process, the better you're going to be in terms of insulated against the variance. I'm going to quickly find out as good luck and bad luck run through me. I'm going to quickly find out whether or not it's my process or it's luck. Because if the bad luck just happens and happens and happens and happens and no good luck ever turns around, then there might be something to change in my process. But if I'm getting bad luck and then some good luck and then some bad luck and then some good luck, I may just be running due to variance. There may not be much that I need to change around. Florida versus Buffalo today, 2.2 implied team totals, really, really low. That's weird. This only adds up to a 5.3, and in a 6 over under, this is bullshit. Something's wrong here. It's probably more like a 3.2. I don't know where the error is or why. I am actually going to, I might have to check this a different time, but for the sake of consideration, let's just assume this 2.2 is bullshit. 3.1 is pretty good for Florida. Florida does give up a lot of goals though, and right now Buffalo's been giving up some goals against as well. So we've got a green light here and a red light here. Green light goals for the Panthers, red light goals against Buffalo. That's a good sign. That means that we've got a decent scoring offense facing a relatively bad defense. That's a double green light, really, for the offense over here. So Florida's going to be on our radar. Goals against here, goals for here a little bit low, but I think Buffalo's actually been scoring this year if I checked other sites. So I'm going to consider this game a potential shootout game with the over-under of a 6 and probably a 3.1 and a 3.2 in the implied team totals. Scrolling down a little bit more, I don't worry about the lines and stuff on this page all that much yet until those sample sizes repair themselves. Anaheim not known as much of an offensive team, although, there's some one-offs here that maybe are possible. The goals against number is a little high right now. It's not typical for them, but being that they're on a road back-to-back, I would say they're a little bit more vulnerable tonight. The 2.9 for the Columbus Blue Jackets with goals for probably pretty strong. If you wanted to look at this sheet, go by what I'm telling you and say green light here, red light here, then go for it. Stack up the Blue Jackets as one of your offenses as well. Florida, Buffalo, maybe Columbus. I probably won't take anything more than one-offs out of Anaheim. Although, being a shorter slate, if you stacked up Anaheim, you don't need much to go wrong if Anaheim has a good night to really jump up those leaderboards in tournament play. How about New York and Carolina? Minus 173, very, very strong odds here in terms of the slate. That means that Mrazek's probably going to be the chalk goalie, which means that on a 3-game slate, yes, you should always take a smattering of your lineups and stack up the New York Islanders in hopes that he busts, because everybody on Mrazek will not be using the Islanders. Nobody stacks against their own goalie. You can double dip the points by not only not having the goalie that falters, but by having the players doing the damage. That is short slate NHL DFS 101. And in such a volatile sport where we aim for consistency numbers of 48 to 51%, you got half a chance of it working out for you. What you can't have is another one of these games, these chalkier games like Buffalo and Florida to go bananas and be a 6-4 game. Because if it's a 6-4 game and all the ownership is there, then all you really get is the benefit of Mrazek faltering. You don't really get a lot of benefit of the Islanders doing their thing and kind of breaking the slate for you. They'll be kind of still competing with the Floridas and the Buffaloes. So you really kind of need a couple things to happen. You need New York to have a great night, but you need that other game to fall a little bit flat. And again, because it's not a 10, 11, 12 game slate, this could very well happen. It's going to happen more often on a 3-game slate than it is on a 12-game slate, because on a 12-game slate, you've just got 5, 6, 7, 8 strong offenses, and the fact that all of them are going to falter is probably not likely, and ownership gets really, really spread out on those bigger slates. Last night, for crying out loud, Tampa Bay was under 5% owned in a lot. How is Kucherov, Stamkos, Braden Point, Hedman, whatever, all under 5% owned? Do people not understand hockey? Probably not. That's why you're all watching this video, so thank you very much. Click the like and subscribe button when you drop down there to promote the content, ring the notification bell so that you get these updates dropped to your phone. We're going to come back later today and do box checkers with dfsarmy.com, where coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, saves you 20% off your VIP membership. So do definitely consider that. Let's get back to the hockey talk. With the 3.4 implied team total is going to be the chalkier offense here, 3 goals for. And, not really bad defense out of the Islanders. So this might be a little sneaky flat spot for Carolina, but I think we all should have some exposure to them, especially in cash games. So let's dive into the players a little bit. So I would say if it was me, yes, I would have some hedge stacks of the New York Islanders, but I would be primarily focused tonight on Buffalo, Florida, and Carolina. So those are the teams that I'm going to go do most of my looking at in terms of stacks are concerned. I'm going to go into the skaters tab to do so. Once this bad boy loads up, I'll select the teams one by one. We'll filter off some of these plays. I'll show you how I set this up. This has all of your lines and your power play lines, has all of your pricing and a lot of season long type information in it. But if we scroll over here to the smaller sample size stuff, I may look a little bit at season long stuff, especially when it kicks over to being our season, especially for the first month, because these will be like 30-day samples. These are 30-day samples. These will be like 60-day samples once we get to Thanksgiving or whatnot. I'm going to get down into here, and I'm going to focus on shots on goal and block shots, because 2 of your most important correlated stats to fantasy scoring are shots on goal and block shots and shooting percentage. So what we're going to do is we're going to sort first my shots on goal and block shots. If you want to use the 5-game samples over here, you certainly could. Those will be all 2019 numbers before these 10-gamers will. Now that I've got that sorted out, I'm looking for, this is my floor, this is my baseline projections. And then I'm going to look over here at shooting percentage. And I'm going to see who I can't find that runs good numbers here. If I wanted to trim the fat off this slate, and instead of running all the way down here to all of the junk, that isn't really doing anything way down here with 0 and 5 and 8 and blah, 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 blah. That's not what I want. What I want is the guys more likely to produce, the guys that are more active, shooting the puck, blocking shots, whatever. And I want somebody who's going well right now with shot accuracy, how in terms of shot accuracy, because they're getting a little bit of good favorable puck luck for them and putting the puck in the net right now. And just like baseball, we can get on that train and hope that hot streak continues a little bit, because we know it's going to be a long season and they're going to have hot streaks and cold streaks. So while they're on the train, I like right now, if you are a regression type of guy, you can certainly bank on the other thing and say, like a Vladimir, like a Vincent Trocheck is a pretty darn good player, and at 7% shot accuracy over his career, he's probably upwards of 15 or more. If I scroll over and just look simply at the 2018, this isn't right. Trocheck's not a 6% shooter over the lifetime of a season. That can't be right. Some of these guys are 13%, Brock Nelson and Jacob Slavin. If these guys are 13% and Jeff Skinner's at 15%, Trocheck's got to be higher than a 6. Point is, right now he's running well at 13%, he's not running very well at 7%. So we're going to be looking for guys that are above that. So if I cut the fluff off here and I wanted to just trim the slate down, let's say I want greater than 25 shots on goal and block shots. And these are arbitrary numbers, but pick 20, pick 25, pick 27. Doesn't really matter. And then shooting percentage, let's say we want that to be, let's go above 10%. You need to set it up as a percentage. I do 0.99 because I'm not greater than or equal. I'm just strictly greater than. So I set it at 9.9%. And now I get only the 10% guys are higher. That's not a lot of guys on this slate. It's a 3-game slate. I know that, but we're dealing with a tighter core of players because we don't have that many options. I'm going to come over here, and the first thing that I'm going to do is go looking at Buffalo. How am I missing a game? 1, 2, 3. I've only got 5 games. Carolina, Florida, that's fine. Where's my other game? That's really strange. I'm going to have to talk to the boys about that too. That shouldn't be happening. Anywho, Buffalo alone. Scroll over here to shots on goal and block shots, and then we're looking for guys. Look at all these guys shooting accuracy. Good stuff. Eichel, Skinner, Olofsson, Reiner, Scandella, all in play. I wanted to remove this number just for a second. Ristolainen hasn't scored a goal yet, in the last 10 games. Miller, there's Reinert again, Scandella, McCabe. These are some guys that you can use as value plays, but largely I would stick to the guys that have the shots rolling for them. I just wanted to show you that really quickly because I believe that there are some playables that are not on this list. This list would be the guys that I might rely on more in a cash game setup. Something a little bit safer contest like league play. And Florida, Hoffman, Dadonov, Huber. There's your power play 1 right there. And Dadonov's not on line 4. Obviously, the API or whatever is pulling some weird stuff. There's a little bit of knowledge you need to have of the league. Dadonov is a top line or a second line player at worst. He's not on the 4th line. But that's my small list. And then I come down here to Carolina. Get Dougie Hamilton, Slavin, Haula, Gardner, and Teravainen. At least I finally got some defensemen in here, right? So if I went into our Domination Station Optimizer and just put a love or an adore smiley face on all of those guys, then I'm pretty solid territory. If I turn this off, without looking back, I don't know which team we're missing, but we are missing a team, and that's sort of silly. But these are the short list of all of the slate playables. If you wanted to play cash games and spread out and not stack so much, because you don't want to be too all in on one game, on a single game, this is how you would do it. You would sort these out by shots on goal and block shot floor, and then shooting percentage to get the high event of the goal scoring or maybe the assists or whatever being involved in something like that. And next thing you know, you've got yourself a short list of guys. You've got some lower line guys here in Holland on the second power play unit, 3rd line potentially, and cheaper at 5,200. You've got Savard as a cheap defenseman. If we look over here at Dennis Savard, or David Savard, how old am I? When I look at his last 10 games, I see a shooting percentage of 20%. I see a high blocks floor. Shots on goal, blocks, shots floor of 30 is really, really strong. I'm seeing an average of 8 points on DraftKings, 10 on Fanduel. So if I look over at 8 and 10 points for Savard at 3,600 and 3,500, that's pretty dadgum good 3x multipliers that you're looking at. That's the kind of cheap play you're going to want to maybe anchor a lineup around and hope that he just continues with what he's been doing. Is he going to guarantee to do that? No, but he's cheap and he doesn't crush your lineup if he doesn't perform. If he only gets you 3 or 5 points, he doesn't crush your lineup. But if he gets his average of around 8 to 10 right now, depending on the site you're on, then you're sitting there with a pretty easy value play and you can afford to stack up some of these better guys. But Hamilton, Eichel, Slavin, Atkinson, Reichel. See, Atkinson might be part of your Columbus stacks, but he also might be a one-off situation in a Buffalo stack or a Carolina stack or something. Reichel, Skinner, Olofsson, Hoffman, Bjorkstrand, another cheaper play here. You can also sort these salaries out. If you wanted less than, say, $6,000, find yourself a value play. You can shorten this list up even more. 4,400 down here for Gardner, defenseman for Carolina. If we look at him again really quickly, that's where a lot of your deeper value typically comes from in hockey anyways, defenseman. But Gardner here, 12% shooting percentage is okay. 29 shots and blocks goal floor, 8 points and 7 points respectively on the sites, which again, for 4,400, 8 points and 7 points for 3,500 isn't bad. It's a 2x multiplier. It's not terrible. These are the kinds of things that you're looking for. But on a short slate, you're going to want to do a couple of things. If you're like me, you're a little chalky, you're going to want to stack those games hard that are in very, very good positions. We showed you Buffalo, Carolina, Florida type games. But if you're a contrarian, you're going to want to stack against Carolina. Who was that? New York Islanders. That's who we're missing. Oh, they've got some decent plays on them as well. So we're going to have to talk about getting those guys put back in the research station. But either way, the New York Islanders would be another team that I would be considering tonight as a hedge. Let's say I wanted to run 20 lineups. I might run 15 chalky lineups, 5 Buffalo stacks, 5 Carolina stacks, 5 Florida stacks. And then I might come back with 5 New York Islanders stacks. And that way, 75% of my lineup has a decent chance of being in the mix on most outcomes of if we ran the slate 100 times tonight. But on the outlier chance that does happen, I've got a very, very solid number of New York Islanders stacks that are going against the grain and that are going to leapfrog all those others. So I might have a terrible night with 75% of my lineups because the chalk fails, but then I might end up having a great night with my hedge stack. And that's another thing that we talk about inside dfsarmy.com. So if you want that kind of coaching, that kind of strategy, you want to learn the game on that kind of level and unlock the tools that will allow you to do it quickly, in 15 minutes, we busted up a 3-game slate. And quite honestly, it only takes 5 or 10 minutes more to do a large 10-game slate. But this is how we would do it. And this is who the core would typically be built around. I'm not going to say you can make a lineup with just this as your core, but I'm going to say that the 3 or 4 or 5 of these guys are going to be in a cash core and are going to be cash playable tonight. So that said, definitely consider becoming a VIP. This is Hockey Talk for Friday, October 11th. 3-game slate, Chop-a-dong here from dfsarmy.com. The comments section will have the link to the site and, of course, my coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, for 20% off. Hit the like and subscribe button while you're down there. I'd greatly appreciate it. Smash that notifications bell so it rings every time a new video drops to your phone. Come back a little bit later today because we're going to do box checkers for NFL, and we're going to be talking about quarterbacks and running backs across the industry and set you up there as well. Take care, guys. Have a good Friday.